Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be taking you through the day's biggest news stories from across India and the world. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session of the Governors' Conference on National Education Policy on Monday. Addressing the conference, President Kovind said, the new education policy will help India to become an education superpower, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed confidence that NEP 2020 will give direction to the country's goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat. President Ramnath Kovind said that the new education policy gives top priority to provide basic literacy to all children at primary school level by the year 2025. He said the success of new education policy depends on effective coordination between the centre and the states. The President asserted that NEP 2020 will be helpful in fulfilling the needs and aspirations of youngsters in India.
इस शिक्षा नीति में यह स्पष्ट किया गया है कि सार्वजनिक शिक्षा प्रणाली ही जीवंत लोकतांत्रिक समाज का आधार होती है। अतः सार्वजनिक शिक्षण संस्थानों को मजबूत बनाना अत्यंत आवश्यक है। नई शिक्षा नीति में इस बात पर बल दिया गया है कि हम सबको भारतीय जीवन मूल्यों पर आधारित आधुनिक शिक्षा प्रणाली विकसित करनी है। साथ ही यह भी प्रयास करना है कि सभी को उच्च गुणवत्ता से युक्त शिक्षा प्राप्त हो तथा एक जीवंत व समतामूलक नॉलेज सोसाइटी का निर्माण हो।
Addressing the session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the new education policy will change the one-size-fits-all theory of the earlier policies. He said the new education policy will prepare the youth of the country for new challenges in the ever-evolving sphere of employment and jobs.
ये शिक्षा नीति सरकार की शिक्षा नीति नहीं है, ये देश की शिक्षा नीति है। जैसे विदेश नीति किसी सरकार की नहीं, देश की विदेश नीति होती है, रक्षा नीति किसी सरकार की नहीं, देश की रक्षा नीति होती है, वैसे ही शिक्षा नीति भी कौन सरकार है, किसकी सरकार है, कौन बैठा है, कौन नहीं बैठा है, उसके आधार पर नहीं चलती है। शिक्षा नीति देश की ही नीति होती है। कोई भी सिस्टम उतना ही इफेक्टिव और इंक्लूसिव हो सकता है जितना बेहतर उसका गवर्नेंस मॉडल होता है। यही सोच एजुकेशन से जुड़ी गवर्नेंस को लेकर भी ये पॉलिसी रिफ्लेक्ट करती है।
The Prime Minister asserted that the new education policy is the key to fulfill the nation's aspirations. He also called for minimal government intervention and influence in its implementation.
लंबे समय से ये बातें उठती रही हैं कि हमारे बच्चे बैग और बोर्ड एग्जाम के बोझ तले, परिवार और समाज के दबाव तले दिनों दिन दबे जा रहे हैं। इस पॉलिसी में इस समस्या को प्रभावी तरीके से एड्रेस किया गया है। 21वीं सदी में भी भारत को हम एक नॉलेज इकोनॉमी बनाने के लिए प्रयासरत है। नई शिक्षा नीति इस संकल्प को सिद्ध करने की दिशा में बड़ा कदम है। नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति ने ब्रेन ड्रेन को टैकल करने के लिए और सामान्य से सामान्य परिवारों के युवाओं के लिए भी बेस्ट इंटरनेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन के कैंपस भारत में स्थापित करने का रास्ता खोला है।
Prime Minister Modi said that the policy focuses on learning and enhances critical thinking among students. The conference, titled Role of NEP 2020 in Transforming Higher Education, is being organized by the Ministry of Education. The Governors' Conference is also being attended by education ministers of all states, vice-chancellors of state universities and other senior officials. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament will be a paperless one as far as possible. Efforts have been made by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha secretariats to keep the use of papers and files to the bare minimum. Details of their initiatives in this report. As a precautionary measure against COVID-19, hard copies of ordinances will not be circulated among MPs in the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. Instead, they will be given digitized version of these documents. The Lok Sabha Secretariat has informed members that the decision to discontinue the circulation of hard copies of ordinances has been taken to check the spread of infection that may occur due to handling of physical papers. Both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha Secretariats have taken several initiatives for an almost paperless monsoon session of Parliament beginning 14 September. The facility of online submission of notices is available on the e-notices portal. Using this portal, members may submit notices for various parliamentary devices in electronic form. Members have been urged to submit the notices required by the rules only through the e-notices portal as far as possible to avoid physical handling of papers and visits to the notice office. Although the existing practice of receiving notices in physical forms in the notice office will continue. Members' portals, members.ls.nic.in and mprs.nic.in will be used for circulating all documents, including bills, statements and the daily House agenda. Limited copies of bills will be printed. In case a member insists on a physical paper copy, this would be provided. The Parliamentary Democracy Research and Training Institute, PRIDE, is also running an e-office training program for select officers and employees of the Lok Sabha Secretariat. The program is part of the preparations for smooth conduct of the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. The program will run till 9 September. In addition to the select officers of the question branch, many other officers and employees have also joined the program. With inputs from Arvind Kumar Singh, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Health and Family Welfare held a meeting on Monday.
The committee discussed COVID-19 situation and ways to deal with it. The Standing Committee considered in detail the suggestions made by AIIMS Director Dr. Randeep Guleria. 12 members attended the meeting that went on for 2.5 hours. In its last meeting, the committee had held discussions with Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan on the issue. The Standing Committee on Labour held its 33rd meeting today. The committee, headed by Bhartrihari Mahatab, discussed the state of textiles industry in the country. The committee held discussions with Ravi Kapoor, Secretary in the Ministry of Textiles. This was the first meeting on the subject.
Ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament starting on the 14th of September, all officers and staff of the Rajya Sabha Secretariat will have to undergo mandatory COVID-19 tests. Those deputed for performing House-related duties will undergo mandatory RT-PCR test on 11th September, 72 hours ahead of the beginning of the session on 14th September. All other employees will undergo rapid antigen tests, which began today. COVID-19 guidelines say that for the monsoon session, no visitors will be allowed in the public galleries of Parliament House. Chambers of both houses and galleries will seat members in order to ensure social distancing. And the two-day monsoon session of the Maharashtra Assembly began on Monday with a strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols.
Deputy Speaker Narhari Zirwal presided over the session as House Speaker Nana Patole had tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday. The Deputy Speaker asked members to observe physical distancing and wear face masks while speaking in the House. After the session began, Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar tabled ordinances related to amendments to GST and Contingency Fund. Ordinances pertaining to rural development and urban development departments for postponement of elections to local bodies and mayoral posts due to the pandemic were also tabled along with other bills and papers. Pawar tabled the supplementary demands for 2020-21. The debate on these demands will be taken up on Tuesday before their passage. Later, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray paid tributes to former President late Pranab Mukherjee, former Maharashtra Chief Minister late Shivaji Rao Patil Nilangekar. The 12-day monsoon session of the Himachal Pradesh Assembly also began in Shimla on Monday with strict COVID-19 measures in place. Speaker Vipin Singh Parmar informed the House about the steps taken to check the spread of the disease during the monsoon session. The 9th session of the 13th Assembly will be held till 18th of September and will have 10 sittings. Former Chief Minister Veerbhadra Singh was among the MLAs who were present in the 68-member House. The Speaker said he has received about 900 questions from legislatures to be asked during the session. Meanwhile, both the houses of Telangana State Legislature paid tributes to former President Pranab Mukherjee and passed a condolence resolution on the first day of its monsoon session. Chief Minister Chandrasekhar Rao moved the resolution in the Assembly, while Home Minister Mohammad Ali moved the resolution in the Legislative Council. Speaking on the occasion, the Chief Minister said the nation had lost a great leader with the demise of Pranab Da. Several ministers and members spoke on the occasion.
Looking at the COVID-19 numbers in the country, India on Monday surpassed Brazil as the country with the second highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases after reporting more than 90,000 new infections for the second day in a row. India is now only behind the United States, which has over 64 lakh cases as of now. 90,802 new cases on Monday has pushed India's COVID-19 infections to over 42 lakh. The death toll has crossed 71,000 after 1,016 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Total COVID-19 cases include over 8,82,000 active cases and 32,50,000 recoveries. The recovery rate is 77.30%. More than 69,000 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours. Active cases in the country are growing at 2%. 5 states with the biggest 24-hour jump in total cases and deaths are Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh. Testing continues to grow as the test positivity rate indicates a slow decline. From 9.6% a month ago, India today recorded a TPR of 8.3%. About 7,20,000 samples were tested over the last 24 hours, taking the total number of samples tested to 4.95 crore. India has tested 32,980 samples per million. According to the World Health Organization, India is reporting the highest number of daily COVID cases in the world for nearly a month. Cases crossed 20 lakh on 7th August, 30 lakh on 23rd August and 40 lakh on the 5th of September. India's total number of cases stand at over 42 lakh. Brazil has confirmed over 41 lakh cases. The United States has over 64 lakh cases, the highest in the world. In terms of deaths, India is currently at the 3rd spot after the US and Brazil. However, the number of deaths is far below the US at 1,93,000 deaths and Brazil, which has more than 1,26,000 fatalities. At 1.70%, India's death rate is one of the lowest globally, but the national average varies in states. Gujarat, Maharashtra, Punjab, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Jammu and Kashmir and Puducherry have a fatality rate higher than the national average. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. After being suspended for more than 5 months following the COVID-19 induced lockdown, metro services resumed in select cities of the country on Monday.
Delhi Metro Rail Corporation or DMRC started the services with a tweet, "We are on our way. It has been 169 days since we've seen you." It also advised passengers to travel responsibly and commute only when necessary. DMRC Director A.K. Garg expressed happiness over the resumption of metro services and seeing passengers travelling confidently. On Monday and Tuesday, only the Yellow Line, covering 49 kilometers with 37 stations, will remain operational in Delhi for 4 hours each in the morning from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. and evening from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Other lines will resume in the next few days in a graded manner. However, by 12th of September, all metro lines will be operational. Besides Delhi NCR, Chennai, Kochi, Bengaluru, Mumbai Line 1, Jaipur, Hyderabad, Maha Metro Nagpur, Kolkata, Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh have prepared standard operating procedures. Most parts of Maharashtra will not be resuming metro operations this month. Bengaluru's Namma Metro also resumed services with Purple Line as part of Unlock 4. Trains will operate between 8 am to 11 am and 4:30 pm to 7:30 pm with a frequency of 5 minutes. For the Hyderabad Metro, the line operating from LB Nagar to Miapur has been opened with protective measures. Frequency of the trains will also be around 5 minutes. Only asymptomatic people are allowed to board trains and stations. Containment zones will stay shut. Use of cash transactions and tokens are being discouraged. The frequency of trains has been regulated to avoid crowding at stations and in trains. It is a must for passengers to download the Arogya Setu app on their smartphones and to undergo thermal checks at stations.
More than 27.3 million coronavirus cases have been reported worldwide, while nearly 9 lakh people have lost their lives to the disease. So far, over 19 million people have recovered across the world.
The United States tops the tally with over 6.4 million cases, while total fatalities in the country have crossed 1.93 lakh. Over 3.7 million people have recovered so far. Schools and colleges are reopening and large gatherings are taking place despite a spike in cases. COVID-19 cases in Brazil have declined in recent days. Over 4.1 million cases and 1,26,686 deaths have been reported till Monday. The United Kingdom had a daily count of nearly 3,000 cases, raising its tally to over 3.47 lakh. Calling the recent rise in cases as concerning, Health Minister Matt Hancock has urged citizens to follow social distancing measures.
Well, we'll take whatever action is necessary, but the first line of defence is that people should follow social distancing. We've also got the testing and the tracing, and they're happening at record rates. We can use and we will use local lockdowns if that's what's necessary.
Spain is preparing to reopen more schools despite concerns about rising coronavirus cases. While some schools reopened last week, others are set to start classes this week. School attendance is mandatory and children aged 6 and over are required to wear face masks. Spain has reported over 500,000 cases and nearly 30,000 deaths. South Korea reported its lowest coronavirus cases in nearly a month on Monday. 119 new cases took the national tally to 21,296 with 336 deaths. Despite a drop in new cases, the government is considering extending the social distancing measures until late September. Australia's coronavirus hotspot, Victoria, saw a drop in infections on Monday, reporting 9 deaths and 41 cases. Despite the falling number of cases, Victoria has extended its lockdown until 28th of September. Australia now has 26,320 cases and 762 deaths. Meanwhile, China has ramped up its efforts in the global race to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. 2 more countries have joined China's national biotech group to run late-stage clinical trials of its potential vaccine. Serbia will test 2 vaccines developed by CNBG's Wuhan and Beijing units, and Pakistan will test the Beijing unit's candidate. Phase 3 trials will involve 50,000 people from 10 countries, including the UAE, Bahrain, Peru, and Argentina.
The centre has ordered complete refund of airline tickets cancelled due to the COVID-19 lockdown, irrespective of when the booking was done.
In an affidavit to the Supreme Court, the Ministry of Civil Aviation and Directorate General of Civil Aviation has said that passengers must be immediately paid full refund for air tickets booked during the coronavirus lockdown. Tickets booked before 25th of March for cancelled flights are also entitled to get full refund within 15 days. Airlines unable to pay have to keep the fare amount in a credit shell that can be availed by the passenger for travel by the same airline on any route before 31st of March 2021. This option is not available to foreign carriers. The credit shell is transferable. If the amount is unused, interest accrued every month will be refunded to the passenger after 31st of March 2021. A DGCA notification on 16th of April had ordered full refund of tickets booked during the lockdown, but petitioners approached the Supreme Court as some airlines did not give full refunds. On 12th of June, the court directed the centre to find a solution after consulting airline operators and travel agents. A 3-judge bench will consider the centre's affidavit on 9th of September.
In some other news, the 24/7 toll-free mental health rehabilitation helpline Kiran was launched by Social Justice and Empowerment Minister Thawar Chand Gehlot via video conferencing on Monday. The helpline aims to provide relief and support to persons with mental illness. On the occasion of the launch, Gehlot said that Kiran Helpline aims at serving people experiencing stress, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, adjustment disorders, pandemic-induced psychological issues, and mental health emergencies. It will function as a helpline to provide first-stage advice, counseling, and reference in 13 languages to individuals, families, NGOs, parent associations, hospitals, or anyone in need of support across the country. This toll-free helpline will be operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with the technical coordination of BSNL. It is backed by 660 clinical rehabilitation psychologists and 668 psychiatrists. Gehlot also released the poster, brochure, and resource book on the helpline. He also witnessed the live demonstration of the helpline. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu lauded Robin Kumar, the Superintendent of Police in Barpeta district of Assam, for the role he played during the COVID-19 pandemic. Robin Kumar, a 2013 batch IPS officer, who is also an MBBS MD qualified doctor, is performing the duties of both police officer and a doctor. Taking note of his contribution, the Vice President called it a great gesture of service. Vice President Naidu said that by running a COVID care center, Dr. Kumar, a specialist in medicine, has exemplified India's core values of share and care. And the Vice President also shared on social media the inspiring tale of a lesser-known warrior queen, Rani Velu Nachiyar, the first queen of Tamil origin to fight against the British in India. Rani Velu Nachiyar, the only child of the king of Ramnathpuram, was drawn into the battle with British after her husband was martyred. She formed an army of young women and trained them in different types of warfare. In 1780, Rani Velu Nachiyar fought the British and finally freed her kingdom many decades before the First War of Independence. Calling her the first Rani of Jhansi, the Vice President said, "The nation remains grateful to the sacrifices, struggles, and the indomitable spirit of the country's freedom fighters and draws inspiration from their life stories." The India Meteorological Department has said that the southwest monsoon this year was 17% above normal, while in July it was 10% below normal. IMD Director General Mrityunjay Mahapatra said in a virtual conference that the rains, however, recovered sharply and the cumulative rainfall was 27% above normal in the month of August. He added that India witnessed excess rainfall over Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Telangana, Chhattisgarh and Odisha in the month of August. Mahapatra also said that though the rainfall activity has declined in September as compared to August and is now below normal, rains will revive in the next few days as fresh weather systems are developing. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar chaired a webinar on Monday on the first ever International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. Speaking during the webinar, Prakash Javadekar praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi for starting a special campaign to reduce pollution in 100 selected Indian cities in the next 4 years. He said, with Pan-India Clean Air Programme, we will be able to achieve the goal set by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Citing several steps taken by the government, the Environment Minister said that the centre changed the fuel standards to BS6 in a bid to fight pollution. He urged people to opt for electric vehicles to help curb air pollution. Javadekar also launched a brochure on integrated measures to combat air pollution under the National Clean Air Programme.
मुझे प्रधानमंत्री जी का बधाई देना है प्रधानमंत्री जी को कि उन्होंने जिस समस्या को लोग स्वीकार भी नहीं करते थे पहले, और जल समस्या अपने हाथ में नहीं है ऐसे समझते हैं। ऐसे समस्या के बारे में चर्चा करते हुए ये कहा कि हम 100 शहरों की हवा में अच्छा फर्क लाकर दिखाएंगे। मुझे बधाई देनी है उनको, और उन्होंने ये बहुत एक काम अच्छा किया।
The first International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies was commemorated around the world on Monday, following the recognition by the United Nations General Assembly of the importance of clean air for the health and day-to-day lives of people. The UNGA on 19 December 2019 had adopted a resolution to observe the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies on 7 September every year, starting 2020.
Around the world, 9 out of every 10 people breathe unclean air. Air pollution contributes to heart disease, strokes, lung cancer, and other respiratory diseases. It causes an estimated 7 million premature deaths every year, predominantly in low and middle income countries. Air pollution also threatens the economy, food security, and the environment. As we recover from the coronavirus pandemic, the world needs to pay far greater attention to air pollution, which also increases the risks associated with COVID-19.
Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar kick-started his party's campaign for the state assembly elections on Monday. Addressing a virtual rally named Nischay Samvad, the JDU chief highlighted the development works done by his government in the past 15 years. He said the state has witnessed an all-round development under the NDA, stressing that law and order, education, health, road, energy and agriculture witnessed a noticeable change during this period. He also spoke about prohibition in Bihar, stating that it is going to stay in the state till he is in power. Chandrayaan-3, India's mission to the moon, is likely to be launched in early 2021 instead of the year end.
Union Minister Jitendra Singh gave the information. However, unlike its predecessor Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3 will not have an orbiter but will include a lander and a rover. After the hard landing of Chandrayaan-2 last September, Space Agency ISRO had planned another mission to the moon this year. However, the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdowns have delayed ISRO's missions, including Chandrayaan-3. Meanwhile, preparations are on for India's first ever human space mission, Gaganyaan, that is likely to be launched in 2022.
Fugitive diamond merchant Nirav Modi's 5-day extradition trial began on Monday at the Westminster Magistrates Court in London. Nirav Modi joined in the trial through a video link from Wandsworth Prison in South London. Earlier, a team of the Enforcement Directorate arrived in London for the trial. The Westminster Magistrate Court heard the prosecution, the CPF representing India, pressing the additional charges of causing disappearance of evidence and threatening and intimidation of witnesses. Nirav Modi is facing 2 charges from CBI and the Enforcement Directorate for conspiring to defraud the Punjab National Bank for over 11,000 crore rupees. He's been placed in the Wandsworth prison ever since he was first arrested in March 2019. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.